Welcome to Simulations and Reflections by Not a Phase. In this activity, it's going to be a little bit different than the last two YouTube videos that I've done. This one is going to be more of a hands-on simulation and reflection for all of the people that are partaking in this. The first activity is actually going to be a continuum activity, and when done in person, you would be standing on a line and going for one end of the line would be completely disagree and the other end of the line would be completely agree. For the sake of this exercise, what we're going to do is have a piece of paper, and you're going to have a line going from 1 to 10, and you're going to mark yourself somewhere on that line from strongly disagreeing to strongly agreeing. Again, in the following exercise, you are going to read the statements and place a number on a piece of paper from 1 to 10, 1 being strongly disagreeing with that statement, and 10 being that you strongly agree with it. You can land anywhere in between, and we will review your answers at the end to see if they change. When babies are born, their gender is known. So you're going to either strongly disagree, strongly agree, or land somewhere in the middle. And I'll give you a few seconds to answer that. Gender and sex can be used interchangeably. Disagree would be closer to the 1. Agree would be closer to the 10. You could land anywhere in between. I'll give you a few seconds. Kids go through phases, including whom they are attracted to. Agree, closer to the 10. Disagree, closer to the 1. You have to love your child, no matter whom they love or how they identify. If you agree with that statement, you're going to be closer to the 10. If you disagree, you're going to be closer to the 1. A person can love more than one gender. Agree, closer to the 10. Disagree, closer to the 1. Being gay is a choice. Disagree, closer to the 1. Agree, closer to the 10. I'll give you a few seconds. If I support my child's sexual identity or gender identity, I will be going against the Bible. If you disagree, it's going to be closer to the 1. If you agree, it's going to be closer to the 10. A normal family does not have as many conflicts. If you agree, it's going to be closer to the 10. Disagree, closer to the 1. School isn't any harder for my child identifying as LGBTQIA+ than it was for me being straight. If you disagree, you're going to be closer to the 1. If you agree, you're going to be closer to the 10. Give you a few seconds. Now we're going to have a reflection about the activity we just did. During that continuum activity, why did you place yourself where you did for each of those statements? And you can pause the video if you need to reflect on each of those statements. Or if you just want to reflect at a later time, that's fine as well. And if you were in a room with other parents, where do you think that you would fall in comparison to others? Do you think that they would be close to where you were? Do you think they'd be all scattered along the line? Or do you think that they'd be the opposite of where you were? So I'll give you a few seconds to think about where you would fall in comparison to others and why you placed yourself where you did for each of these statements. Next, we're going to do a simulation. Now, this simulation is best with two people. There are two roles being played. There is a teacher and a student. So if you do not happen to have two people, it's okay. You're still going to get something out of it. You would get the most effective benefit from having the two people, but if you only have one and just yourself, it's okay. You're still going to benefit from doing the simulation. So let's get started. In this simulation, you are a teacher and a gay student comes to you upset. He was bullied by two of his classmates last night after the basketball game. The student, Billy, was beaten up and then forced into the trunk of his car. He was scared to tell his parents because he didn't think they would understand. And you're the first one to find out about it. This is actually your conversation with one of the offenders, and the principal is a witness but doesn't speak. It's important for you to see the side of the offender because I want you to see what the offender's thoughts are and the thought process is when they are attacking an LGBTQIA student. So as you read through this, I am going to have you pause for each slide so you can read it and then proceed at your own speed, and I will see you at the reflection. Immediately after the conversation, you reach out to Billy's parents and the parents of Charles. Then you bring in Stephen to get his recollection of the events. So think about this for a second. If this happened to your youth, how would you talk to them about it? It's a very difficult conversation, so I want you to think about how you would approach it with them. Do you think that they would feel comfortable sharing the details of what happened with you? What do you think you could do to open up the line of communication between you and your youth to better deal with the situation if it was like this one? And why do you think that Billy told his teacher first instead of his parents? Do you think there was a reason for that, or do you think that he just felt a little bit more comfortable telling his teacher? So these are all questions I really want you to think about and kind of think about what would happen in a situation where your child was bullied and how you would react to that, and kind of reflect on not only the reaction but the communication you would have with your child. But for simulation 2, I'm actually going to read the simulation out loud for you. It's a thought process, and I want you to really think about how this person must feel as they're going through this. In this scenario, Laura, a 16-year-old transgender female, is required to use the men's restroom in her high school. Her parents are fully affirming, and Laura has begun hormone replacement therapy. She isn't too far along in her therapy, but she doesn't blend in as a man. This is her thought process as she experiences using the restroom at school. I only use the restroom during scheduled class times because that is when there is less likely to be other students in there. I stand outside the restroom door for a minute or two to make sure no one is coming out or in. I go inside hesitantly. If I hear someone, I will hang my head and run into the stall, hoping they don't see my face. I always lock the door as quickly as I can as I close the stall door. I quickly use the restroom, listening intently for anyone else coming or going. If someone else comes in, I must wait for them to leave before leaving the stall. Once they are gone, I will run out of the restroom as fast as I can and sanitize my hands with the pocket hand sanitizer I always carry with me, because washing my hands takes time and time could lead to bad outcomes. I will only use the restroom at school when absolutely necessary. I am afraid of those that come in there. It's a strange feeling to have someone who can hurt you physically, emotionally, mentally, and being forced by the school to use that restroom because it is my birth sex. Let's reflect on that a little bit. What do you think of the school's choice to require Laura to use the restroom of the sex assigned to her at birth? I'm going to give you a few seconds. You can also pause the video if you need to. Do you think that she's at risk for verbal or physical assault by placing her in this position? What would you do if you were her parents and this is the decision the school made? Would you contact the school? And how would you feel if you were Laura? How would that make you feel, having to use the men's restroom? We are going to go back to the continuum reflection. Do you think you would still answer those the same way? If so, why do you think your answers would stay the same? And if they would change, why do you think they would change? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about those answers, and if you need to, you can pause the video. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. I definitely appreciate it, and I hope that you've enjoyed and learned something. Thank you.